You're listening to Sacks in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sacks in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at sacksinthebasement.com. Welcome into Sacks in the Basement. My name is Chris Lanuti. My buddy Ed sitting across from me at my 9-foot homemade oak bar. Sit down, pull up a stool, pour yourself a cold one for the next 30 minutes. It's all for fans, by fans, and all white Sacks. It is 30 minutes of Sacks known as Sacks in the Basement, brought to you by Family Waterproofing Solutions. Family Waterproofing Solutions, taking care of your foundational needs, your basement issues. You got water, you got leakage, you got seepage, you got any of those idges. You want to make sure that you give them a call. The phone number is right on the label for Sacks in the Basement on whatever podcast player that you're using, or if you're on the website, sacksinthebasement.com. Tell them that we sent you. You get money off. The estimates are free. They can do them virtually. They can do them in person very safely. FAMWS.com. Ed, you started a blog. I love it, but you started a blog. You're calling it Mismatched Sacks. It's available now on the sacksinthebasement.com website. You've already got several articles up, and I love the name. Take me through why you came up with that name, though.
Well, the idea behind it is I want to follow up on the things we're doing here when we're talking to each other, pick up the loose ends, and just, another shot to get some ideas out there and some talking points out there for people, because we're in 30 minutes of good, you're not going to be able to cover everything, and frankly, some things are just bad, so I might as well put them in writing instead of making us talk about them here.
We've gotten a lot of compliments over the last week or so. A lot of people pointing out that they're enjoying it. We're still keeping up the strenuous podcast schedule, even though it's been kind of an up and down, like start and stop off season for the White Sox. We continue to bring out shows on Wednesdays and on Saturdays and bring as much good content as we can. We are going to take next weekend off for Christmas. So there's going to be a show on Wednesday, and then there'll be no weekend show, and we'll be back the following Wednesday. So there is going to be a day off in there somewhere. And of course, the White Sox will likely go out and sign like Trevor Bauer on Christmas Eve, and I'll be forced to have to do a show. I'll be like, no show this weekend, and then a massive signing. Like, for some reason, they decide we need JT Realmuto. And you're like, whoa, what? Like,
why is he here? I mean, I know why he's here. Don't get me wrong. I understand why you'd sign him, but why now?
What would be the weirdest signing that you could think of that the Sox would go out and do right now? Because we keep looking at, like, what they should do. Like, I look at the idea that I would still love for them to go out and spend on Bauer. It feels less and less likely because they're not spending a lot of money, but nobody's really spending. The Mets took McCann rather than spending on Realmuto, and now there's really not a lot of buzz for him. Like, it feels like the agents are trying to get the buzz going, but nobody's really spending. The Sox, when you think about the fact that there's no McCann left, there's no Mazzara left, Rodon's gone, you've taken even Yomer Sanchez off of the roster, Gerard Dyson's off the roster, Alex Colomé is off the roster, Encarnacion is off the roster, Gonzalez is off the roster. That's a lot of money off the roster. They haven't spent that. They're going down. They're going backwards. And the market is slow right now. What would shock you right now? Like, maybe they're like lying in the weeds and Rick Hahn is all of a sudden just going to come out and say, guess who we signed? Like, what would jump out at you?
Realmuto would be the one that would jump out at me, because what you're saying there is you're saying, look, we're replacing James McCann as a right-handed complement to Yasmani Grandal, and we're going to commit to having two top-flight catchers, and we're going to rotate the DHs, and it makes zero damn sense whatsoever.
It would make no sense. No, they're never going to do it. Like, that would be like,
exactly.
You did what? Have you been
it
drinking?
Would be the most
like,
nonsensical thing they could do. I mean, it'd be cool, but it'd be, what are you doing?
Right.
I think the other one that catches me that I could see how it could work, but I can't see how it could work, is DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah.
And give Moncada some days off at third, and give Madrigal maybe a chance to not have all the pressure to be the everyday second baseman. But that's a lot of money for a guy who's 32 and is still somebody that you kind of would sit there and go, well, wait a minute here. Is he the best answer, considering our outfield is the defensively challenged Eloy Jimenez, the injury challenged Adam Eaton, and we still need a left-handed bat, which LeMahieu is not.
I'm still fascinated with the idea of what if you trade a Nick Madrigal and you make him part of a package, and you go out and you sign Colton Wong. I think I get that suggestion maybe once every 3 days, either through the Sox in the Basement Facebook page or the Twitter account. Like, we're getting that suggestion constantly. Like, they should go out and they should get themselves another frontline pitcher, or they should go out and they should get themselves like a big hitter. They should add to this team because Colton Wong, 30 years old, a 5 WAR, 5 wins above replacement if you combine his 2019 and the very short 2020. So he is a worthy player. In fact, DJ LeMahieu, who right now is holding out for reportedly another $25 million from the Yankees, is the only guy with a higher WAR that's available at that position at 7.8. And so Wong is like a sneaky player that I keep getting this suggestion, like trade Madrigal away, make him part of a package, and bring in Colton Wong. It's become like this idea that has caught fire in the minds of people. I don't know if it makes sense. Like, Colton Wong, sure, he might be perfect at second base. Like, going out and getting another second base, but you don't need to do it unless you're trading Madrigal. And you're only trading Madrigal if you're getting something of value. And I still think trades are likely the way that the White Sox want to go because they want to have control and they don't want to go and overspend in this weird-ass market that's going on right now. But on the other hand, with the money that they have sitting there, just with who they didn't bring back, they could theoretically go out there and make a move. The only thing that worries me is it feels like Rick Hahn is like, if I can't lock you up for a long time, then I only want you for a year or so because I feel like the CBA is going to be a disaster. That seems to be the way he's doing things right now.
Well, and it's not just lock you up for a long time, but lock you up for a long time at a team-friendly deal. He could, I mean, in theory, he could go out and lock up Trevor Bauer for several years if Bauer is willing to take a multi-year contract. But we know that Bauer at this point is going to command a high annual salary. And it's not going to be the team-friendly salary that Rick Hahn likes. You know, he could lock up Jose Quintana for many years if he really wanted to. But do you want to? You know, do you want to lock up DJ LeMahieu for a number of years? A lot of the free agents that are on the market, one of the problems with them is that there's not a whole lot of guys out there that are these young guys that you sit there and go, okay, look, I think I can make something out of this guy, or he's going to take that next step, and we're going to help grow with this guy. Because even, like you said, even Colton Wong is 30 years old. So he's not necessarily a young guy out there. You know, a lot of the premium names are, you know, Justin Turner, 36 years old. LeMahieu, 32 years old. Carlos Santana, well, Santana signed, but he's 35 years old. He's probably the best first baseman on the market. Real Muto is 30. You know, you have a lot of these guys that are these veteran players, and that's great. But even going back to Michael Brantley, who seemed to be consistently, you know, tacked on to the White Sox in early rumors, is a 34-year-old guy. So he's going to be a 1 or 2 year player in Rick Hahn's mind. And I don't know that I necessarily disagree with him on that. I don't know that I really want to be paying Michael Brantley in 5 years when we have to start repaying some of the guys that are really the core of the team, especially if you're going to run into this again and again where there's going to be this cheap budget that we keep running into, this mysterious invisible wall of non-cash that the Sox keep putting up in between themselves and being one of those perennial contenders that just goes out and says, okay, we have a hole, we need to fill it. This is the best guy in the market to do it.
You know, I get muscle aches all the time. I've gone from being able to do whatever I want to and not feeling any pain to basically getting pain for any kind of physical activity. Good news, there's a local family-owned Southside business that provides a CBD topical that will not break the bank. Creaky Bone Balm offers concentrated relief for creaky bones. It is an effective hemp-based CBD in a rejuvenating balm. And guess what? It's made in small batches, always free of preservatives, and all natural ingredients. It's great for muscle aches, tension, inflammation, joint pain. You can even use it for skin ailments like burns and dry, cracked skin. Right now, go to creakybone.com and use the promo code BASEMENT. Get 20% off your order. Whether it's physical activity or off-season stress, Creaky Bone's gonna help you out. Use that promo code BASEMENT, 20% off your order right now at creakybone.com. No, and you know, and you go through the guys that are sitting out there that are available right now. I mean, we're talking names like Marcelo Zuno's floating out there. You barely hear anybody talking about him. He should be They should be fighting over him right now. You look at Springer, the Springer market doesn't see. All you hear is Springer to the Mets, Springer to the Mets. But the Mets, I don't think are saying that. Everybody's just trying to push Cohen into just signing people because he's the only guy with money. And Jackie Bradley Jr., you're not hearing enough about him that I would think at this point. Michael Brantley, all we've heard about Michael Brantley is he's asking for too much money.
Right.
That's the only thing we've heard about Michael Brantley. There's shortstops out there. I mean, Marcus Semien is he is a former All-Star, and wasn't he an MVP? He was an MVP. And Didi Gregorius and Andrelton Simmons, all three of those shortstops out there. There's no movement whatsoever. Justin Turner. I would love to have Justin Turner sitting in the middle of my lineup. Wouldn't he look beautiful as the DH with his big flowing ginger hair? Like hitting for the White Sox in the middle of their order? Able to spell Yoan Moncada? You could even move Moncada around. Like imagine like you're like, we're going to give Madrigal a day off. We're going to put Turner at third. We're going to put Moncada over at second. Like, and you just have these bats. And make Andrew Vaughn push his way into the lineup with a Justin Turner signed on a 1-year deal. He'd look glorious with his red flowing beard on my team. No, you barely hear about him. It doesn't seem like the Dodgers are too super excited about bringing him back yet. DJ LeMahieu, like we said, Colton Wong, Tommy La Stella. He's an interesting name that I think could end up on the White Sox before all is said and done.
Tommy La Stella he'd have some versatility in terms of being a guy that is the left-handed bat. If you believe his power from a couple of years back was a legitimate change and result of him changing his approach and getting some time to play, he's a guy that could be good. Cesar Hernandez, for that matter, is a guy that's been pretty productive throughout his career. And if you're talking about a 1 or 2 year stopgap, he's a guy that you could easily plug in. But you don't want to spend for those guys if you don't have to. But the idea, like you said, of trading somebody like Madrigal and then picking up one of these guys, there's some sense to that because, frankly, unless you're going to go out and just say, look, I'm going to set the market. I'm going to offer DJ LeMahieu what I want to offer him because this is a premium bat on the market here, and I'm going to get him, or I'm going to get Justin Turner, and I'm going to put them in the middle of my lineup, and they are going to spell Yoan Moncada, or they're going to allow Moncada to go back to second base for a game. Whatever you want to do with the X's and O's on the field, that's a Tony La Russa problem, but if you want to do that, what are you waiting for? I mean, there's no sense in waiting for somebody else to set the market. Go ahead and set the market. Show us what you got.
Well, you and I play in this fantasy baseball league together, right? And yeah. I know you think the same way that I do. We play in this league. It's a dynasty league. So you get to keep everybody that's under the age of 30 as of March 1st going into the next season. And then you can keep 4 guys that are over 30. And everybody's got their prospects. There's 15 guys in the minor leagues. You got a 40-man roster total. You get to keep 25 of them up in the majors and 15 of them down in the minors. I think we changed that because Major League Baseball. So now it's 26 and 14. But you have this 40-man roster. How quickly after you're done with your fantasy baseball season do you come up with all the scenarios of the things that you want to do to improve your team? I'm pretty sure you've already looked at it, buddy, because I know I've done it about 3 or 4 times already, and there's a reason that you and I have won combined the last 4 years of this league. It's either me or you amongst the 10 people in the league because of the amount of thought that we put into, all right, I've got to change this, and I've got to move this around, and this guy's a multi-positional player, and I'm thinking about that on my fantasy team. So I hope and pray that somewhere there's like a whiteboard or a room of whiteboards where every possible scenario is mapped out. Because if I put that much time into my fantasy baseball team, there should be a lot more time being put into what are the scenarios here for the White Sox and what we can do. I really hope it's not like when you watch the movie Moneyball and with the Billy Bean character played by Brad Pitt, what does he do? He calls up a GM and he goes, I'm looking to get so-and-so. Well, what do you want? Well, what do you got? And it's just like they're just throwing names against the wall. I really hope it's as planned out as my fantasy baseball league.
No, because you're right, and that's the temptation. I think that's a temptation for us as fans with the real major league teams is to sit there and play fantasy baseball, right? But the league that we're in, at the end of the season, and we're not the only owners that I talk to at the end of the season that were having these discussions, but you look at it, you're right, and you sit there and go, okay, well, what let me down this year? Why didn't I win this year? And that's what you're hoping that Rick Hahn's doing right now is sitting there looking at the team going, well, wait a minute here. Where are we thin? Where do we need some help? Where can I bring a guy in that's going to fill a hole? And then we don't have to think about it anymore. And yeah, there better be a lot of different whiteboards out there, and there better be a lot of diligence done on at least 3 or 4 players for every position that you're looking at that are, amongst the free agents. And then even more when you're talking about trade targets and people that you want to get into. But I think the problem when you get out into say the Twitter sphere is that sitting there saying, okay, well, let's trade Nick Madrigal as part of a package to get Blake Snell. Great. He's one of our top prospects, and yeah, there should be some value there, but why do the Rays need yet another second baseman? I feel like they've got about 50 of them.
That's the thing. You're right, because the whole idea is like we go, oh, he's worth this, but you don't know if the other team finds him to be worth that. You don't know what else they're asking for. And so, and I think that's what happens in negotiations as well. I mean, we'll sit around and you and I have had quite the history of negotiations just between our two franchises. It never is the initial offer. There's back and forth, and then like we've brought in a third person for 3-way deals to get the value that we want out of it, and we're doing it in that setting. This is a much more high risk setting if it's in real life what Rick Hahn is doing. So I get how slow it is to get a deal done. I get how easy it is for us to say, this is what the deal should be. Go make that phone call and get it done. And then go out and get yourself a burger and pat yourself on the back. But it's not, it's different in the real world. There is time that this takes. And I think with the crazy market, the way that it is, and the fact that you don't have a lot of tractions, like I don't see agents able to pit 3-4 teams. Like right now, it's basically everybody's a mystery team. Like every report that comes out from Jeff Passan to Ken Rosenthal is, well, this team, and this team might be involved, and these other 3 teams should be involved. And I heard a rumor about this other team. But if it was real, it'd be like 3 teams. Because they'd be only paying attention to the things that were solid. And right now, there's not a lot of solid out there. I don't believe it. I could easily be proven wrong. There'll be a bunch of signings this week. But I think this is going to be the slowest offseason you've seen in a long time because everybody's trying to figure out how to do things on the cheap because their owners are crying poor and the general managers are getting thrown in that position. You know who really intrigues me is the Kansas City Royals. They're Scott Merkin. I don't know how else to describe it. Their guy for MLB.com that covers the Royals put out an article today, and I was laughing that they're basically saying we got Mike Minor, we went out and got Carlos Santana. We're sneaky favorites to win the American League Central. Because they're the only ones making any moves. So like Royals fans are getting pumped up over those 2 moves. I had to laugh. I was like, we don't need to make any more moves and we're already better than the Royals. But that's how they believe because they actually have something going on. So their fan base is clinging to that because they got a couple of names. And those guys might work out, but the offseason is far from being over.
No, and it's not over really until the games are started being played. But when you go and look at the depth charts, for example, right? So look at why could the Royals make that claim? Well, go look at their depth chart. They have their 5 starters are listed, and those are the guys that you expect to toe the rubber. It's Keller, Duffy, Singer, Minor, and Bubich. They've got some guys in the bullpen. They've got their catchers. They've got a first baseman and some depth there. They've got their infield set. They've got their outfield set. So yeah, they actually can sit there and say, look, this is the team that we should field, and we feel pretty good about it. But now if we add anybody else, and if they do add anybody else, okay, so they can lay claim to the fact that, look, we're the only ones that have improved ourselves really this year. I mean, the Sox have, yes, they have added Adam Eaton and they have added Lance Lynn, but we just talked about the fact that you could use another starting pitcher, at least one more starting pitcher. We still don't know who's going to be the DH. Everyone's counting on Andrew Vaughn, who has yet to hit above A-ball.
People have to stop relying on that, all right? I mean, like, yeah. I'm sick of hearing, well, Vaughn will just be the DH. The guy hasn't hit above A-ball yet. And I know that this guy, look, we were the first peoples. We were the first people. We were the first people that really kind of latched on to the idea that he could get to the major leagues quickly. You know, we talked with the guys over at Future Sox on this show before he was even drafted. He was the draft pick that we had conversations with people who were studying the draft picks, and they're like, if they go and they select Andrew Vaughn, this is a guy who could be in the majors in a year or so. So he's always had that attached to him because he can hit. If you can hit, you're going to make it there. So there's always been this thing where you believe it. That said, he really wasn't due to get here until 2021. And that would have included him in AA for half of last season and AAA for the other half of it. So the idea now that he's like, oh, he's still at the same pace. He's not. So I would love for him to get here and rip the cover off the ball, but I want to win a championship. And like I said last week or on the last show, I want to start being that team like the Dodgers that's got so much depth that a guy like Andrew Vaughn is a name that you're clamoring for, but the team doesn't need to hurry up and bring him up because they've got every position filled. The White Sox, maybe, and my belief and my hope is maybe the idea is they want to sign somebody to hit in that DH role, but they don't want to sign a long-term deal. And they're waiting on the kind of deal that they gave Edwin Encarnacion. Because they got Encarnacion late in the offseason last year, and it wasn't an offseason like this. But he was like an add-on piece. Like the Sox announced, oh yeah, and we signed Edwin Encarnacion to 1 year with a 1 year option. Well, the idea behind that was we don't know what he's got left in the tank. We don't know how quickly Vaughn's going to progress. So we want to be able to get rid of him, but if he performs and Vaughn isn't ready yet, we would just pick up the option. We wouldn't have to go through this again next year. The problem is Encarnacion was so terrible that they were like, we're not paying that option. That's terrible. We're not doing that. That's insane.
He was bad.
Yeah, if he would have been halfway decent, trust me, Edwin Encarnacion's option would have been picked up, if only to fill the role for the first half of the season for Vaughn. I'm convinced of that. There's no reason they give him the deal that they give him. If he would have been good, they would have kept him on. So if you're not going to keep him on because he's not good enough, fine, but that doesn't mean that Vaughn improves. Vaughn didn't get any better because Edwin Encarnacion was worse. No. So you still got to fill the Encarnacion role here until Vaughn's ready. So this whole Andrew Vaughn will just come up and he'll show up magically in like May or June and he'll go hit 340 and we're going to go win a World Series with him. Stop it. They need to go do something else. So like I said, they need a hitter. They need a DH. They need that establishes depth and that makes Vaughn have to get through him. I understand not wanting to block him long term. I'm not for that either, but they need that. They need another pitcher that they're going to add in there. They need a guy who's going to move around the infield and along with Leury Garcia, they need a La Stella, something like that. I would love to see them go get somebody like that who can move around to a couple different positions. I'm okay if you decide you want to have Zach Collins be your backup catcher this year or let him and Yerman Mercedes go fight it out, and they need to go get the big shutdown closer. This is the shopping list. The list didn't change this week, all right? But we're trying to understand why they're doing what they're doing. I think that's what we're trying to figure out, and I think it's a combination of slow market and waiting to see where the market gets set, because they probably have an idea of this is what you're worth, and the players are like, that's not what my agent told me, and they're like, well, wait a month. Because when you see these other people sign, you're going to like our deal. And that might be exactly what's going on right now. Sox in the Basement listeners, do the hard work. And if you're a hardworking man or woman on the South Side, you need to be outfitted properly. And that's why you should visit Red Wing Shoes in Evergreen Park, New Lenox, and Geneva. A work boots specialty store that carries sizes from 6 to 16 and feet as wide as 4E. A 115-year-old company that came out of Red Wing, Minnesota. And one of its largest stores in the entire Midwest is in Evergreen Park, Illinois, ever since 1976. When you're on your feet, the footwear is everything. So why not get an expert fitting? They warranty, repair, and offer free conditioning with laces. And they also carry Carhartt work clothing as well. Located at 3347 West 95th Street in Evergreen Park, Illinois, at 208 East Maple Street on Route 30 in New Lenox, or at 1749 South Randall Road in Geneva. Visit them today. You work hard. You've earned it. Red Wing Shoes.
Think about how quickly the 85 Bears turned into nothing, right? Think about how quickly the Blackhawks went from a dynasty to, over the last 5 years, we've been watching them decline. It's like watching Grandpa forget your name over time, right? The Cubs went from World Series champions in 2016 to now they're talking about trading Chris Bryant, and they DFA'd Kyle Schwarber. So you have a very short window here, and I want aggression from Rick Hahn. I don't want him to wait and sit back because the window is very, very short. We don't know how long these guys are going to work. It only takes Lucas Giolito blowing out his arm once for him to no longer be the
This
ace
is the
of
third
staff.
episode. Listen, this is the third episode you've said that, and I swear to God, if he blows out his arm, I'm going to kill you. If he blows out his arm, because it's almost like you're wishing for him to blow out his arm. This is the example. You've used this example now for 3 straight shows. It's one pitch away from Lucas Giolito blowing out his arm. Stop it.
Here's the good thing. Lucas Giolito has fantastic mechanics, and he's a wonderful human being. So I wish no ill upon him. He's an entertaining gentleman, and I hope he's here for a very, very long time. I hope he is the Duncan Keith of the Chicago White Sox.
Right. Like, look, if Rick Hahn's got this massive long-term deal that he's working out with Giolito, and he's like, I got to get a little cheap on some other things so I can sign him for the next, 7 years, I get it. I think that's what White Sox fans are waiting for. Like, where's the money? That you had money, spend the money. COVID didn't take all your money. Like I said, there should be like a little bank, like Uncle Scrooge used to jump into, and go swimming in DuckTales. And it should have all those millions of dollars we didn't spend during the rebuild that were supposedly being saved for now. That's what I want. I want all that stuff.
I have 2 worries about that money bank. One is that it is an illusion. 2 is that it's real and Rick Hahn jumped into it and got concussed. And now he doesn't know what he wants to do or doesn't understand how a baseball team works anymore. And they've got to get him through concussion protocol so that he knows who to sign.
Or 3, Jerry likes to swim in the money bank in the nude.
Yeah, but you know what? You got a boss like Jerry. Sometimes you got to get naked with the guy. I mean, I'm guessing that's how Kenny Williams kept his job for this long.
Do you think that he has a like a swimsuit like Scrooge McDuck would have, like one of those one-piece ones from like 1910 that like go over the shoulders and it's just like it's a full body male swimsuit?
Oh, Jerry, I guarantee he's rocking one of those things.
Yeah.
He may be wearing it under his suit at all times. It's hard to say.
Just in case.
Yeah, I don't think he's a Speedo guy in any way, shape, or form. Hahn, younger dude, maybe pulls it off. I don't know.
Hahn maybe
Kenny's
a
definitely a Speedo guy. Yeah. There's no doubt. He was an athlete, so he's still showing it after all these years.
That's going to wrap up Sox in the Basement. Before we get out of here, 2 things I want to tell you. First of all, Christmas is right around the corner. Like you're less than a week away right now as you're listening to this show. The Sox in the Basement off-season package at soxinthebasement.com is a great stocking stuffer. The famous Sox in the Basement trucker hat, the Sox in the Basement metal bottle opener, keychain, get one of those, and also a Sox in the Basement koozie. $12 plus shipping. If you order it, I will get it out same day to try to get it to you in time for Christmas. Check it out at the store, soxinthebasement.com. The other thing is right around this time every year, my dad comes on the show and we do a father-son episode. I've always done that because it's his birthday, and this year it is his 70th birthday. Actually, the day this show comes out, he's 70 years old. Happy birthday, Dad. He would normally be on, but we're still in the middle of our quarantine because I'm dirty and not really being as safe as I should be. And he is very valuable to me and in that at-risk group. So I am trying to get through my quarantine so we can spend the holidays together. Next week, maybe I can coerce him to come on the show. We'll see. But for now, I just want to wish him a happy 70th birthday. My father, Ed Lanuti, the other Ed at the end of the bar, and myself want to pass it along to you, Dad. And we will be back on Wednesday. Sox in the Basement, found everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. Bye-bye, everybody.
Sox in the Basement. Sox in the Basement. Sox in the Basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.